Let's talk. Talk about the things that mean so much to you and me. Let's talk. Talk about the things that mean so much to you and me. Let's talk.
Well, hello again. Hello again. It's good to see you one more time. As you can see, I'm your host, Henry Benefield, and it is time for us to have a conversation. You guys know we always have a great time on this show talking about topics of major importance. Also guests where we can just pull on and have conversation with, just to talk about the things that's going on in the world, things that's going on in individuals' lives. You know, we always try to give you an exciting show. Let me thank everybody again. I try to do this at the beginning of the program for all the Facebook, all of the different people that send emails and all this other kind of stuff. Thank you from all around the country. We're so glad. We're noticing that you're going to the websites, looking at the rebroadcast of the programs as well. Thank you. You helped to make this program a success. Well, let's start with my very first guest. Listen, I met this gentleman from one of our previous guests. The last show we had, we talked about empowerment and owning your own business and something like that. You know, it was a really interesting topic that a lot of you said was very beneficial to you because you wanted to start having your own business. One of our guests said, "You've got to meet this brother." And I said, "Really?" He says, "As a matter of fact, if I would have thought about him, I would have invited him to the show." And so I said, "Okay," and you know how it is, you go, yeah. But then I spoke to him, and I was so impressed with his story that I knew you guys have got to hear him and all the things that he has actually experienced in his life, because some of you have gone through the same thing. Please welcome my very first guest. I'm very honored to have him here today because he is a true testament to willpower, faith, struggles in life, and just being a regular guy going through some phenomenal things. I'm very happy. He has actually started his own business. It's called Sudden Change LLC. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I want to introduce you to the guy. Everybody, please welcome my very first guest, and I know I'm saying this correctly, Saron Brooks. Saron, welcome to the program, man.
Thanks for having me.
Man, it is such a pleasure to have you on the program. I tell you, I was so impressed when we talked. You know, on the telephone, and you were telling me some of the things that, how you got started and some of the challenges that you had went through and the anticipation that some people always think that it's this way and it's that way, but you were telling me some things that's not that way. So let's just talk. Let's go back. Who is Saron Brooks?
Who am I today? Or
no, let's go back. Let's
okay.
We know where God has brought you
Absolutely.
to. But I'm
Absolutely.
saying sometimes people may be in a situation that you were in and can't see the way out.
Absolutely.
And so if we go step by step with your testimony, they'll be able to see the progress that took place in you and be able to relate it to themselves.
Okay. Well, first off, I am a felon. Mm-hmm. I have 6 felonies on my record.
Wow.
I've been incarcerated, about 20-something years.
Wow.
Out of my life. Just, being raised up in Lincoln Heights, and, my mother, she been to prison, my father been to prison, my
Wow.
sister, my brother.
Wow.
And, for me, that was just a normal way of life. So me being raised up in prison, it didn't feel like it was something wrong with that.
Sure.
And
Sure.
Just the way that I looked at life, never, had regards for other people's life. I've been shot 4 times and
Wow.
stabbed 3 times. And
Wow.
I couldn't tell you just, some of the things I have done in my life.
Sure.
And just to be at a place now that, to know that God has truly forgiven me of everything that I've ever done. I think for me, that is where my freedom lies. Because, people will say that they forgive you, and when you're in the world, it doesn't matter whether people forgive you or not. But, when you accept Christ in your life, it's for you to believe that you have been forgiven. It's almost like you're starting a new chapter in your life,
Wow.
and you just see life through a whole new set of eyes.
Well, and it is, because that's a different state of mind. Right. When you were talking about simply that all the experiences with your mother, having been
In prison.
in prison, and your father had been in prison. I mean, let's talk about that, because I think some people don't really understand what it means to have that kind of state of mind where you don't really realize that is. I'm not going to say it's wrong. It just is a different perspective, but you're not aware of alternatives in life.
Right.
So let's just talk about. I mean, how did that feel, man?
I mean, there is no feeling to it. I mean, when you raise up like that, you don't look at things from a right or wrong perspective. So when you're talking about living in the darkness, that's exactly what it is. Sinners do what sinners do. And so in the family structure, for me, that was normal. That was normal. Actually, all of my kids, except for my last 3 kids, all of the pictures and all of the memories they have of me is coming to visit me in prison.
Wow.
But for me, that was normal because I used to go see my mother in prison.
Wow.
And my father in prison. And me and my sister and my brothers, we used to write each other in prison. And so I never thought that anything was wrong. So, I spent like 4 years in juvenile institutions, and then when I was 19, I went to prison. I got a 65-year sentence, and I did 10 years on that. And when I came home, even when I was in a halfway house, we had already started selling drugs and robbing and doing those things, sneaking out of the halfway house. Even after 10 years, nothing had changed in my life.
Wow.
And I went right back to prison for aggravated menacing, threatening informant. I went back for another 3 to 5 after that. But there was nothing wrong with that to me, because I've been raised up like that.
Sure.
And I've always felt comfortable living like that.
Sure.
So, for me, I've never paid attention to nothing that nobody else was doing in life. It was almost like we was just shut off in a place. And a lot of times when I talk to people, they'll say, well, you had to know that you were doing wrong. Well, there is no right or wrong when you're living in the world.
Sure.
There is no right or wrong.
Or like you said, when you're living in darkness, right or wrong is the light.
Right.
And when you're living in darkness, that's just the way that you do.
Absolutely.
As you said, there wasn't any sensitivity to other people and stuff like that. And the reason I think that is so important, because as the person said to you, those of us who, unfortunately we have not been in that boat, don't really see it from that perspective.
Right.
We said, oh, they know right from wrong. Oh, man, don't tell me that, And you said, no, that's not the case.
No. Never, not one time did I ever think, even, shooting guns in the neighborhood, never, ever one time did I ever think that I could hit somebody that's innocent, or that never crossed my mind not one time, never.
Wow.
And I've always carried guns, and I've been doing that since I was 13. I did my first bit when I was 13.
Wow.
I robbed a jewelry store. That was my first offense was a robbery.
Wow.
At 13. So I went to Melrose to the State Center. I escaped from there, went to Hillcrest, escaped from there, and then ended up in DYS. So for me, that's just a way of life. And that cycle it continues on, because that would have been the same thing I would have been teaching my kids.
Sure.
I would have never had no respect for them, because when you're in the streets, even though you have kids, you don't look at them like those are my kids. I never looked at it like that.
Wow.
Those are my kids, or those are my responsibility, because you're involved with so many different people in your life. There's no real love, there's no concern, there's no compassion about whose feelings you hurt, none of that.
Sure.
I've never ever thought of that. And even when I was in prison, we used to have guys, because I couldn't read or write when I was in prison, so we used to have guys that would write letters for us to females and just string them along just so they would write us letters. So even in prison, it's all a lie. Everything is a lie. It's made up. So you're talking to people and giving them an ideal or concept of who you think that you've done become. In all actuality, you have not changed not one bit. Because after 10 years, while I was in a halfway house, I had already started selling drugs and doing everything I had done before.
Wow.
Me and another guy, we jumped on a guy in the halfway house and took his money. He was working before we got there, so we got into it with him, but we didn't see nothing wrong with that.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't see nothing wrong with that. And so, in 2008, I was running wild. I mean, just rampant in the streets, in Lincoln Heights. And, one night, because I never believed in God, and in prison, everything is on a white and black scale.
Sure.
So you got white religion, you got black religion. So you got the guys that's been in prison for 20 and 30 years, they're the ones that's trying to teach us.
Sure.
And they're teaching us out of anger and frustration and hatred. And so Christianity would have been the furthest thing from my mind. It ain't no way that I would have ever believed in Jesus Christ. Even from juvenile institution, they always tell you that's a white man religion, blue-eyed devil. And I used to say it myself.
Sure.
You know, when I would see guys in prison, I'm like, man, you serving that white man religion. I've always said that.
Sure, sure.
And
now, were you actually introduced to a faith or Christ?
No.
As a young kid, you were never introduced to him?
My mother said, like, and for Easter one time, she had took us to Tabernacle. I don't remember, my brothers don't remember, my sister don't know. None of us remember that. And I think we might have been babies or something like that, but outside of that, nothing. Okay. Outside of that, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Wow. I had one grandmother that, my father's mother, I knew she used to go to church, but she did everything that we did, you know. Yeah, she did everything we did, you know. She drank and cussed. I mean, she did the whole nine. And when I was selling drugs, she would hold my money, you know. She knew what I was doing. Wow. And all that. So just believing in God, there's no reason why you would believe in God when you're in the world. There's no reason why you would believe in God. There's no reason why. Wow. I can't think of one reason why me being in the streets and being raised up in prison, why I would have believed in God. I can't think of one reason why.
Well, and especially when you had people that were supposed to believed in God doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You brought up something, man, and I want to bring that out because I think sometimes we on this side always have a different perspective when we're not in it, of understanding what people are actually going through. You mentioned the simple fact, you said you have kids.
Right.
So this is what I hear. You know, you a man, take care of your kids, you brought them here, you love your kids. But you just said to me, man, that when you're in a certain place of darkness, you don't know anything about loving your kids.
Now, my father and my mother, they were in the same neighborhood, but my mother, you know, she was strung out on drugs. My father, he was strung out on drugs and alcohol, you know, the whole nine. And my mother, she was literally a gangster. Like, you can look her up, you know, Mary Brooks, you can look her up. Everybody knew her. She was running gangs and stuff, you know, when she was young. And so she was our mother, but she was more like a friend. When I first started selling drugs, she called a connect from California. You know, when I was I guess about 16, 17, and they brought me some drugs from California and brought it to me just based on her word.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how strong she was in the street. So everything that she did or that my father did, it didn't seem like it was nothing wrong with that, you know, to us. And so Apostle Benny Llewellyn, you know, he had talked to me one time and he said, well, what your problem is, you never had an opportunity to be a son. And so by you never being a son, then you're going to struggle being a father. And I believe that now. I believe that now because, you know, I have kids. Even today, you know, God has blessed me where, you know, all of my kids I'm able to be in all of my kids' lives. But being the father to them and not knowing, and I express that to them all the time, like, just be patient because God, he's dealing with me. You know, he's working with me and he's showing me, you know, who I am and who he intended for me to be from the very beginning. You know, which I've never, all this stuff is new to me. Wow. It's all new. And so even, you know, the way that, you know, Christ came to me in my bedroom one night, he came in and woke me up.
Was this 2008?
2008. He came in and woke me up and it was this thick cloud in my bedroom. And my girlfriend, which was my wife at the time, she woke up and she was asking me what was wrong. And I asked her, did she see that cloud? And she was like, no, and that was the first time I cried since I was around 11. I literally just started pouring down. I was crying. And I mean, I couldn't stop crying. Yeah. And I hadn't cried since I was about 11. Wow. And I just released. And I heard the Lord tell me that I was going to be a witness for him throughout this world. Wow. And, you know, just, you know, through Apostle and, you know, different people, I've been able to travel, you know, to different countries and, you know, different states. And even with me having 6 felonies on my record, I'm not even eligible. This is how I know God is amazing. I'm not even eligible to go into the prisons. I don't even fit the guidelines I have never got turned down to go into a prison yet.
Wow.
I just got back from Florida. I just went down to the Homestead maximum security prison down there, and when they sent me the invitation, I filled the application out. 2 weeks later, I got approved.
Wow.
And I didn't lie on there. I didn't lie on there at all. And I saw where it said 7 years and all that. Well, I've been doing this all my life. I've been in prison all my life.
Wow.
All my life.
Wow.
And when I do get out, I'm nervous out here, but I'm comfortable in there.
Wow. Wow.
I'm more comfortable in there than I am out here.
Wow.
This was years ago.
And we've heard that story
Yeah.
before, because I'm pretty sure when you're out, there are all kind of things that you have to deal with that you don't have to deal with in there.
Right.
You know, you're going to get food, you're going to have housing, you're going to have medical and all that kind of stuff inside. So it's definitely more difficult to be out on your own, basically,
Right.
versus having I hate to say this word, but like a support system for everyday existence.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
yes. So let's go back to 2008, man. You were in the bedroom and you had this great vision of the Lord, and all of a sudden, you know, you had to make some changes. I mean, you had to do something, because before you went to sleep, you were one person.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and then
Right.
afterwards, you
Right.
were somebody else.
Right.
And it kind of reminds me, and you know, I tried my best not to make the show what I call a religious show, where you always seeing the people and the host is so perfect and the Lord this, and I try not to do that, but I am never ever against speaking truth.
Yes.
If Christ has made a transformation in your life, that's truth.
Absolutely.
It's not my version, or the simple fact you were saying that you were in darkness and you had no comprehension of what we thought that you should be thinking.
Right.
You know, which is something important that people that are in those kind of ministries need to be aware of.
Right.
They don't know.
Right.
You know, we expect, because we went to Sunday school, and, you know, now thou lay me down to sleep, or pray to love. They don't know that. So we're trying to figure why they're doing these things without, you know, resentment.
Yeah.
It's because they don't know. But let's talk about, as I said, you know, 2008, the next day, you know, and this is exciting for me, because it's encouraging for me.
Yes.
You know, let's just talk about that, because there is a transformation. I can relate, because I've been there. I can tell you something was similar to that. Wasn't the cloud, but something very, very similar to that that took place. But for our viewers, let's talk about it a little bit.
I stayed in the house for about, I want to say it was almost about a month.
Wow.
I stayed in that because I really didn't know what was going on. And, you know, at that time, you know, some people had gave me some stuff and to give to other people, you know, and I was supposed to go back and get it. And I was really, really, you know, trying to figure out, you know, how to do that. And the Lord, you know, just really, really spoke to my spirit and told me, just be honest, you know. And so I called him and just told him, like, I'm not going to go collect the money. I'm not going to do nothing. And I even called the ones that I gave it to and just told them, you can have it, you know, and just, you know, start calling people and just apologizing, and didn't even know why I was apologizing and what was going on, you know, with me at the time. And really, you know, that was one of the first times I really saw, you know, my mate at the time, like, it's a woman, you know, because when you in the world, you have females that are in your life, but they're just that. This is not a woman. This is not a wife. This is it's just that. It's just something to do.
Committed relationship with.
There's no
respect.
commitment. Yeah, there's no such thing as commitment, because you don't know nothing about covenant,
Right.
or commitment or nothing like that. And there was a guy named Deacon Lee. You know, he was one of a major drug dealers in Lincoln Heights. And when I first came home,
Wait a minute. Did you say Deacon?
Yep, Deacon Lee from Lincoln Heights, Marky Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of them. He was when I left, there were things that he was doing, and so I was actually looking for him. And you know, he started talking about, you know, Jesus and all that. I'm like, oh yeah, he tripping, for real. He tripping. And I remembered that I had came to see him when I first came out.
Yeah.
I remembered that. And so I called him, and he came to see me, and I had told him, you know, what happened, and he invited me to a men's prayer, and I really didn't want to go. I really did not want to go to the church. I didn't want to go there. And so
Why?
I just, because I never, in my mind, it was like I didn't belong there. You know, I wasn't good enough to go there.
Good
so
enough.
I wanted him to come, you know, to where I was at. And so I told him that, you know, I wasn't going to change nothing about me because God had met me here, just like I was. And so I did some things intentionally. I did. You know, when he invited me, you know, I wore my hat, you know, I wore some shorts and white tee, and I was hoping that they would not accept me there so I wouldn't have to go there. And
Before you go any further, I have to tell you this, man. I'm from one of those Pentecostal churches, you know, when folks sing really well, they take stuff and throw them at people and stuff like that. And I almost threw my pen at you, said, I'm not coming there because God met me here. Right. And I started to do this. So I'm going to be professional, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be very professional and let my guests continue. But I almost threw my pen. Please don't. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put my pen right here. Go ahead and go and tell us.
And prior to that, now that I know what sowing seeds are, there were people that were saying different things to me, even though I was violent, but I was extremely nice at the same time when I was in the world.
You had a heart.
You know, I wouldn't cuss around older people. I didn't know why I never did that. I never, like my grandmother and my mother and them never heard me cuss. I would never do that. And I don't know why I never did that. And that was the first thing he took. I haven't cussed since I've been saved.
Wow.
Yep, I haven't sold no drugs, none of that since I've been saved.
Wow.
And so I started thinking about different people. There was a lady at the daycare, you know, she used to talk to me about me being in prison, and I went to go see her. And she invited me to come down in 2020 with her,
wow,
you know, to give my testimony. All this stuff was just like, it was going, right after the first month, the second month, I was off and running. I was literally off and running. I was at 2020, I was at Justice Center, I was off and running.
Wow.
And hadn't made a commitment, you know, anywhere yet. And, you know, I had my first job, you know, and they hired me at FitWorks, which was in walking distance where I was from. And I kind of shared my story with the manager. He told me that they didn't hire felons, and I shared my story with him, and I sat there and I'm crying in front of him. I don't even know why I'm crying. And he said, well, we can only pay you $6.50 an hour. I said, I'll take it. And I stayed on that job. I was so happy. I really was, because in prison, you know, for 10 years, I made $18 a month.
Sure.
And we worked. And out of that $18 a month, they take child support out of that.
Wow.
So you get a check for $8, and that's the first thing I was thinking. Well, $6.50 is more than that. Yeah. You know, so I'm working 8 hours a day.
I'm gonna close my notes because I'm gonna throw my pen.
Yeah. And so, you know, and God just started showing me things early, you know, in my walk. He started showing me things, and I think the first thing that I grabbed, you know, was I had gratitude. You know, because, you know, for me to believe that God is the creator, you know, of the heavens and earth, and that He forgave me of everything. I did a lot. Like, you don't understand some of the things I did. Yeah, I don't think that there's not enough time in a lifetime
to tell it.
Yeah, because like I said, I've been doing this all my life. I'm not one of those guys that been in the streets for a couple years and he came out and he tried to do right. I never tried to do right.
Wow.
You know, from 12 on, I ain't never did right.
Wow.
Now that I look back, I've always done wrong. Everything I've ever done was wrong. So when you talking about being a mess, I sold drugs in prison. I was running a gang in prison. So I wasn't, like, prison wasn't all that bad for me, you know. I got an education in prison and never read a book and never took a class.
Wow.
Just paid for it.
Wow.
I had certificates, like auto mechanic certificates. Never worked on a car in my life, but I was doing that. So when I did finally go to the parole board, I can deceive them. But that's the way everybody do in prison. That's the way we've always done. So that's why you get a guy when he comes home, and then he goes in, he got these certifications, and then when they ask him some questions or they get him to try to perform, he don't know nothing.
Wow. He
don't know nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. When I came home, I was about worse off than I was when I went in there.
Wow.
I was more trickery. You understand?
More cunning.
Yeah, I was more cunning. And,
wow.
And
like you said, you learned even though you had to pay for it.
I paid for it. I didn't know. I had these certificates. I didn't know nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know nothing. I had no hands-on training doing nothing.
Wow. Yeah. So you did come out, and even though we know you went back, but you came out. Let's talk about that.
I came out in 2005, and I was doing the same thing. I was off and running. I was doing the exact same thing from day one, and like I said, that's the right way. That was the right way for me.
Had it ever appeared to you that I want to change?
Absolutely not.
Never. Okay.
Not one time did I ever feel like I don't want to live like this. I done thought about committing suicide before when I was in the streets, but I think that's why, like, if I got shot or something, it didn't really bother me that much.
It was more of a welcome.
Right, yeah.
Because you were in so much pain.
Everybody just know he just got shot last night. It was on the news, you know.
Wow.
Sharon Bruce, he just got shot last night.
And then there was four times.
Yep, and then it'll happen a couple of times, and then people in the neighborhood start calling you Superman and all that, and you thinking it's something about you that these bullets can't kill, or you thinking you tough, you thinking you something, not knowing about God's grace and mercy. I didn't have no clue about what that was at that time, and I believe that, you know, the Lord allowed me, you know, to go through those trials and tribulations because he knew that I was going to say yes when he came to me. He knew that. With
a pure heart.
He knew this. He knew this. He knew this because none of it makes sense, even to me right now today, even though, you know, it's been since 2008, you know, and people were talking to me and they saying, well, you did this, and I'm saying, no, I didn't do nothing. There was nothing for me to do. I wasn't looking for no way out. You know, he came to me. He came and got me. I was like the man by the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. You know, nobody couldn't help me. I don't feel like it's nothing that nobody on this planet Earth could have done for me outside of Christ coming to me himself. That's it. I don't feel like nobody can convince me of nothing. There's no kind of song you can sing. You can't dance nothing in front of me. You can't put me up on a pedestal. There's nothing you can tell me that if he had not came to me when he did, my life was over.
Wow.
It was over. Because I know that the judge even told me, if you come in front of me one more time, that's it. That's it for you. That's it.
And that still didn't affect you?
No, because it didn't. I mean, I can adapt. You can, when you raised up in the system and you raised up in prison, once you go back, you just readjust and you just adapt to that. That's where all your friends at. That's where your family at. And see, even since I've been saved, even over here, it's kind of tricky because you almost see the same thing. And I always ask God to shut my eyes to things that I don't need to see. You know, allow me to hold my tongue to things I don't need to speak, things I don't need to say, because I just need to do what it is, because life is short, for one. And out of all the people in the world that he could have chose, he chose me at that time. I'm stuck there. That's where I'm at. I'm right there. And so when I go to the prisons and they want to talk Sudden Change, you know, that's my company. And Sudden Change means Damascus Road Experience. That's what that means, Sudden Change.
So I know we're going to get to that because we talk about all the things that you're doing, but in that transformation, man, there are some phenomenal things that took place. You know, we talked on the telephone.
Absolutely.
And you had me crying and all that other kind of stuff. No, but anyway, but you talked about, since you have been changed, all the opportunities that have come your way that you never thought. You not only have you been in this country, but you've been around the world.
Yes.
You've talked in front of the U.S. Senate,
the senators,
House of Representatives and senators, and man, let's just talk about. I'm going to go to Sudden Change, but I want to talk about some of the things that God has provided for you to do, in reference to opportunity to give powerful information and testimony to people who have no idea what it's really like. You know, so I mean, let's talk about. First of all, let's talk about you going to Africa.
Okay.
You know how God put on your heart to do some things, and you just tell me about it. What'd you do?
So I mean, like I said in the beginning, when God spoke to me and said I was going to be a witness throughout the world, this wasn't something that I was seeking out.
Sure.
It's not something that I was seeking out. And I know it starts, you know, at home, you know, because Cincinnati, we're struggling, you know, we're struggling. And, you know, without Christ, I don't see no change happening.
Wow.
I just don't believe it. I'm convinced of that. And I met Apostle Benny Fluellen. I met him through my pastor, Pastor Davis. And Apostle Benny Fluellen, you know, he's a teacher. He's a true teacher of the word. And he's a traveling man. You know, he teaches leaders in different countries and different states. And he asked me, you know, did I want to go with him? And it just blew my mind because, you know, when God speaks a word over your life, he's already done made a way. He's already done made a way. You just have to say yes. When the time presents itself, you have to say yes.
Sure.
And so when he said that, you know,
would you go with him? So tell us, where did he ask you to go?
he asked me to go to Lagos with him.
Lagos is in
Nigeria.
In Nigeria, which is in Africa.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
you got the invitation from Pastor Benny Fluellen.
Yes.
And what did you say? I don't speak Nigerian or something?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not, because, I mean, the fear factor in ministry, when you're trying to do it of yourself, you're going to find all kind of excuses not to do certain things. You know, like if somebody called me and they say, well, you come to Detroit, you know, we want you to testify. And a lot of people see the murders and all this stuff going on. I'm coming regardless.
Wow.
I was already a dead man walking anyway, so
Wow.
my life didn't mean nothing. And so for me, you know, to travel with him and even though it's a Muslim country, and I think right before that, I want to say almost a week or so before that, the Muslim had blew up a church over there in that community. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, if God has not chosen them for that, they're going to pull out, rightfully so.
Sure.
Rightfully so. And with me, there's no hesitation in going there. As a matter of fact, I know that it was strategic by God, because that's how we ended up in Uganda, because the plane we were on ran out of gas.
Oh, wow.
So it had to reroute. and that's when I really saw, you know, I saw Apostle. He's a great man. He really is. And I saw him, and we met one of the senators that God had told her to resign, and she was on a mission to win 1 million souls. We met her on the plane.
Wow. So let's say this: you not only did you go Nigeria, you went to Uganda and many other places since that time. So the bottom line I want to get to, there was an exciting part that you were telling me about, that you were asked to come speak in Washington. I got about 2 minutes. Tell us about that.
Not so much I was asked to come and speak in Washington. They had set it up where they had the senator, and they had a representative from the House Representatives, Ohio Chamber of Commerce. They had it set up for me to come and share with them, you know, about the felons, to basically talk about the felons. And one of the things they had mentioned to me before I got up there was, you know, not to make it religious. And when I got up there, you know, just the Spirit of the Lord took over.
Wow.
And I just told them the truth, you know, about how Christ came to me and what happened in my life and where I'm at right now today. And they came up and they were crying and giving me hugs and everything. And I saw the guy that had invited me. He was sitting in front when I first started talking about Christ. He was sitting there because he specifically asked me not to do that.
Wow.
But I'm not coming nowhere and not mentioning Christ. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you can't invite me. That's not going to happen.
Hold that conversation. We're going to come back with part 2 and take it a little bit further.
Okay.
But before we bring on our second guest to talk about this conversation, I think this is my camera right here. I do want to say that I thank everybody for you know, being so supportive and doing this. But I have a guest that's going to come on right now. She's going to actually be talking about an announcement that's going to take place. That, you know, she's our friend. She's been on many of our programs before, and we always try to give opportunity for people to talk. Her name is Terry B. I'm going to ask Terry B. to come on right now so she can give us the announcement of what's going on with her. And of course, we know we love her. One of the good singers in the city of Cincinnati. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Terry B. Hey, Terry, how are you?
Praise the Lord. He said I was a singer.
Well, you know, our singer stuff, you know what I'm saying. So what's going on? Tell me, give me your announcement real quick.
Can I get 2 seconds? You's a bad boy.
God bless you.
My God, I plead the blood over you, brother. We
I
gonna.
receive
Okay,
it.
hey everybody, Everybody is always asking me what else the Streets of Gold Productions do.
Okay.
So we don't just do film, we don't just do plays, we
Right.
don't just do music. We also have
on
a
talking to 'em.
conference,
Okay.
a conference coming up. October the 14th and the 15th.
Okay.
We have a conference. Friday night I'll be opening up. Saturday morning we have Dr. Donna Jackson coming out, and then we have President Layla Kramer she's the president of Ursuline Academy.
Awesome, awesome.
She'll be coming out and teaching our young girls from
Awesome.
12 on up to about 18.
Okay.
And then we have self-defense classes.
Wow.
And then that Saturday night service we have prophetess. I know you don't like the title, but that's what they put on my paper to call her. But it's prophetess Vernella Smith.
Okay.
She'll be preaching that night.
Awesome.
And it's called the Hear My Heart Women's Conference.
Wow.
HEAR My Heart Women's Conference. And
Awesome.
HEAR is an acronym for Her Emotions Are Real.
Wow. Wow.
So we're just talking about talking.
okay.
We're
Okay.
speaking on the word and the words that we use to reflect over our lives,
Mm-hmm.
to project over our lives, and what we announce over our lives.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Women have the uncanny ability to not only birth a dream, but they can bury a dream too,
Exactly.
simply by what they say.
Exactly. So tell me, location. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at the North College Hill Presbyterian Church in
Okay.
College Hill. And I can get all that information to you. If you want to register, just go to www.streetsofgoldproductions.org.
www.streetsofgoldproduction.org. www.streetsofgold.org.
Productions.
Productions.org. Okay.
Yes.
Well, we certainly want to end. The times is going to start again.
It's going to, Friday night service is 7 to 9. So 7
Okay.
you get me, beam. And then on Saturday morning you get 2 classes, 10 a.m. both classes. And then Friday afternoon you have 4 o'clock.
And one more time, give that website.
streetsofgoldproductions.org.
All right, we've got it. Terry, thank you so much. It's always good to see you.
Thank you
All right, thank
for
you, dear.
having me.
All right, so listen, everybody, I want to tell you about a little thing that's going to be going on. There's history that's going to be made in the city of Cincinnati. And what's going to take place is our very own historical soul redeemers. You guys know those groups, those guys that have that smooth harmony. They're going to be celebrating their 50th golden anniversary. It's going to take place on November the 13th, 2016. And listen, you got to write this down on your notepads and everything. While my guest is coming on the set right now, you just put this down, write it on, because I'm trying to get this in real quick because I got to go to part 2. That's going to take place November 13th, 2016 at the Jeriel Missionary Baptist Church. That's downtown, downtown Cincinnati. That is 1018 Wesley Avenue. 1018 Wesley Avenue. The 50th Golden Anniversary Reunion Celebration. Listen, they're bringing all the guys back that have started and were singing way back many, many years ago. They're having a big reunion group. They're bringing in the Bends and the Sounds of Salvation. They're out of Indianapolis, and the Golden Crowns out of Louisville, Kentucky. The Ville brothers out of Gloucester, Mississippi. I mean, everybody's going to be, and our very own Teresa Terry is going to be there as well. So if you want to have more information, listen, you guys want to call 368-5520. 368-5520. Any information that you'd like to have, give them a call. We want to wish a happy anniversary. It's a milestone, 50 golden years of singing in the city of Cincinnati. The Soul Redeemers Golden Reunion Celebration, November 13th. Write that down, everybody. You definitely want to be there. Well, now it's time to go to part number 2. And I've asked one of these wonderful guys to come on the program as well to talk about, like Mr. Brooks was talking about. His name is Mr. Ron Mabry. He's representing the Hamilton County Office of Reentry, because people think that once you're out, it's over. That's it, but we know that there's a life after having all kinds of experience, right? Mm-hmm. So we just want to welcome my second guest, Mr. Ron Mabry from, again, Hamilton County Office of Reentry. Mr. Mabry, welcome, man. Pull right here in the center here. Just pull over just a little bit so we can get kind of close and have a conversation.
Okay.
You've heard Mr. Brooks talk about his life and the transformations, and you deal with this every day.
Every day.
Tell the people, I'm so impressed with the statement that he made that I was completely aware of, which is the state of mind that individuals can be in that I assume that they know better or that they're familiar with what I'm dealing with. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Again, that's the assumption that we in society think that they know better or they ought to know better. But the thing that was resonating in my mind as he was talking, and that is necessary for us to understand, the word is culture. There's a culture inside the institution.
Wow.
There are a plethora of cultures even in our communities. There's a culture on the west side of Cincinnati that you may not fit into.
Sure.
There's a culture on the east side. So different cultures, and because of the culture, that in their culture, I might look at them and say, why is he walking with his pants down?
Right.
And to me, that's abhorrent.
Sure.
But to them, it's like, hey, this is what we do.
Right.
And so that's the difference. Those of us on the outside don't necessarily understand. We don't understand at all the culture. So when they're coming out of the institution, back out into our community, and we're thinking that, okay, now it's time for you to do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But they're coming from a culture, and there's an adjustment that needs to take place.
Wow.
Some can adjust rather rapidly. Some don't adjust at all.
Sure. Wow. How interesting. And I like this kind of information because it gives people something to think about. You know, and especially me, I've learned something today. When I look at a cat man and he's kind of doing so and so, I have to think, you know, just like what you said, when you're in that darkness, you really don't know. And at some part, it's kind of arrogant on my behalf to assume that he does.
Right. Again, the word assumption, that's what gets us all. We're assuming that they know how they're supposed to relate as it relates to us, as to our expectations.
Sure.
But there's some expectations that he has to adhere to while he's inside. If he doesn't, it could cost him his life.
Absolutely.
On the inside.
Absolutely.
But once he comes on the outside, we do things a little differently. And so therefore we expect him to automatically adjust. But several things have happened. Number one, when they've been inside, bridges have been torn down. They've burned some bridges.
Wow.
Which has gotten them on the inside.
Wow.
Coming back outside, those bridges have to be repaired before they can cross. That's where our office comes in. While they're on the inside, depending upon how long you've been on the inside, things change.
Sure.
Every year and a half, I believe they say now, technology changes drastically.
Sure.
And so while they're on the inside, things are going on the outside, and when they come out, they're not adept with, they don't know what has transpired, what's taking place. And so that's what we help with, that's what we do. Consider a gentleman who's been in prison for 20 years.
Wow.
What happened 20 years ago in Cincinnati? How was Cincinnati 20 years ago? How is it now?
Wow.
They've been on the inside. They've not seen the moderate changes, the transformation.
Yeah.
They've not seen that.
Yeah.
So they come out, and it's a shock to their system.
Wow.
And so hence the Office of Reentry is here to help.
Wow. You guys are located where?
138 East Court Street, room 101, in the same building where the BMV is downtown.
Okay, right across. So when they go in, they go across the street. When they come out, they go on the other side.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So, I mean, I'm still looking at this mindset, man. You deal every day because it being your job. But also you deal with society as well. I mean, how is it that, you know, we have to learn how to process from a different perspective to be effective with people re-entering into life? Well, I don't want to say life because they're alive, but in what is the word I want to say? Society or something, or, you know, for lack of word, I don't know the exact word to say. But coming out to re-enter where, you know, they're functional, they have certain things, having a job and things like that. How should we really be looking at this? I'm saying since you deal with it every day.
Okay. Since I deal with it every day, I was listening to the brother here speak, and without being all theological, we have to be empathetic. We have to be empathetic. Those of us who are Christ followers have to understand that the first program that Jesus or that God instituted after the fall of man was a reentry program, and forever.
You heard me tell you about the pen, right?
I understand.
I'm about to give you the pen, brother.
I understand. Accepting Christ and getting back into right relationship with God, that's re-entry.
Wow.
Man fell from that. And so because the programs that was thrown at man under the concept of the law didn't work, God sent his son to help us with reentry so we can get back to him in right relationship.
Absolutely.
That's what reentry is all about. And from a societal standpoint, they're coming back from a place of where they've fallen, from a place of brokenness.
Sure.
And so we're here to help them re-enter, to cross that bridge again, to repair the bridge, to cross it, and to also break down the barriers, the different type, the things that we hold against individuals in our minds. He's a felon. And what we do in that sense, they've served time already inside. When he comes outside and he's told that he can't get a job, that we're having him serve time again. And so they're forever being punished.
Wow.
But thank God for
Double
re-entry.
punishment.
Yeah, double punishment is what,
Wow.
is what they suffer. Yes.
Wow.
So we help them break that down in our office. One of the first things that's needed is stabilization. Getting an individual a job is the easiest thing that we do in the Office of Reentry. We can get almost anyone a job, irrespective of felony, but they have to become stable first. If you have no place to put your food, when we give you food stamps, then again, it's of no consequence, as far as the job goes. We got to get them stable first. So that's the hardest thing that we do is the housing piece, because of the lack of housing, available housing, and then also the stipulations that go along with it, where we can't rent to you because you've done this or that,
Sure.
that sort of thing. So stability counts for a lot.
Is there recommendations? I know you can't do a requirement of being at least associated with some faith-based organization, or they're calling some of the psychiatrists preachers now because they feel they're picking their brains. But I'm getting from what my brother just said, man, that there was a mental transformation that though he may have been in a house, it did not have the value until he actually changed the way he was thinking. I mean, was there some kind of, does your program support or encourage? And I know we've got this separation of church and state, you know what I mean? But I know. This is three brothers at a table, man. That's why they got that big side. Said, let's talk.
One of the things, like, even with reentry, because even with sudden change, I hire felons. I've had nothing but felons over the last 4 years. If the condition of the heart is not right, the job is non-effective.
Exactly.
So the job in reentry can never be the focal point.
Right.
It can never be, and I'm gonna give you an example, because I got a guy that had a job. He came to us when he first got out, and at that time we wasn't hiring, but we accepted the application. And he had got a job at Jiffy Lube. He was doing good. I came past and I saw him a couple of times. He'd been there for about 5 or 6 months, and they found a better job. Well, anyway, one day he gets pulled over by the police, and they found a gun in the car. So now he's going to court, and they threatened to give him 3 years. And so, we went down there, we talked. And one of the things I was, letting them know was he way far ahead than I was, because I wouldn't even have the job. I would have had the gun, but I wouldn't have had the job. So the likelihood of him making it is way greater than mine was. His only problem is he just made the wrong choice. And so what happened was, he let another guy use his car, and the other guy had a warrant on him, so they was looking for the other guy, and come to find out it was the other guy's gun. But because he's a felon and he came out from prison, even though he had the job, he still wasn't making the right choices in his life, because the condition of his heart wasn't right. And so when the condition of your heart is right, now when you're making a choice, you're making a godly decision versus just making a decision based on you, my friend, and we was raised up together, and I'm here to support you, even though I'm trying to change my life. And so you take the working money, and the working money ends up right back in the clubs and the bars and all that. The condition of the heart has to be first.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Speaking for, I guess, with regard to our office, with respect to our office, we take it from a scientific approach. So when they come into the door, we have to assess those things. We use a Wisconsin assessment tool to assess whether or not, okay, is the brother or sister ready to actually enter into the workforce? If so, then we go through processes. If not, then we can kind of go programmatic. Well, maybe you need to go and become take this class or join yourself to these individuals. So it all depends. It's different with every individual. There's some individuals that come, and again, if you throw too much at them too soon, they'll fall. They can't handle it. Can't handle it. And so you have to kind of guide them along and let some individuals know. Well, right now we don't think working or vocation vacation is the best thing for you right now. But then there are others that are ready. There are those sometimes because of other things, supporting their families, that sort of thing like that. They're ready, and we can go ahead and push them along and move some things out of the way, break some barriers down, get them working, help them with housing, some other basic needs, things that they need to take care of, and get them going. One of the major ones for the guys, child support. He was mentioning that they take so much money from you while you're in prison, but a lot of gentlemen don't know that you could bring child support almost down to zero because when you're incarcerated, we can fix it so that it doesn't count against you, it doesn't accumulate, so you don't come home to arrearages.
Right, and he's right too, because when I came home, I owed $80-some thousand, but my caseworker. There was an amnesty program, and they started mine from scratch. So a lot of guys, they're running and don't even realize they don't even have to run.
Wow.
Yeah, they're running, don't even realize they don't have to run.
Because the Office of Reentry will work with them because your whole goal is to get them not to go back.
Exactly. To stop the recidivism, to stop the revolving door. And really, in all honesty, the only person that can do that can stop the revolving door, is the only individual who changes the hearts and minds of
Jesus
man.
Christ.
That's it.
Wow. And that was one of the reasons that I brought that up, because out of respect for being official government office, sometimes they don't like it when you bring it up, and I knew that was your job. So the respectful presentation was for that. But my foundation is exactly what he said, man. It's like there was a difference between Christ being your Savior versus Christ being your Lord.
Definitely.
And I'm saved, I accepted him, but life goes on after that. Where does he fit? And what he was giving us was examples of Christ as his Lord. Yes. And I love what the brother, like I said, we'd spoken on the phone prior to being invited to the show, and I was just like amazed that here you have this hardcore thug, I'll do this to you and blah blah, and here he's like in Christ's hands like marshmallow. Mold me, make me, shape me, use me, whatever way you want to be, because I tell people we are spirits, and when we connect with the powerful source of Christ, it's an humbling experience. Like I said, he showed you things that anger won't get it, money won't get it, women won't get it, houses, cars won't get it. And I'm not saying this as a preacher, I'm saying this as a testimony. Brother with a testimony.
Right.
But the simple fact is I'm excited. And it would appear that it would be able to work in conjunction to what you're doing, because they really work hand in hand.
Right.
You can't make somebody do what they don't want to do.
Yeah, and it all depends on where he like. Okay, so when you look at reentry, you have some felons. When I was in prison, they came, but they had a good upbringing, and they came to prison. They made a mistake, and so they came to prison. They might have did 5 years or 3 years. It's easier for him to come out in reentry and be successful, because that's who he was in the beginning.
Sure.
A lot of guys you talk to, he graduated from high school, or this guy was in his first year in college and he started selling drugs or whatever. But then you got those like me, 7th grade education or whatever, your mother and father, drugs, and you've been doing this all your life. And so when you come out, the likelihood of reentry helping a guy in that condition, it has to be Christ-centered, or it's not going to work. It's not going to work, because Impact Change is my program. It's the program that we work, with the felons. Sudden Change is where we employ them. And at one moment, because of me listening to them and having compassion for the felons, I abandoned the Impact Change and started putting them to work. It caused way more problems than you can imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, way more problems.
While you're talking, I'm going to ask our producers to put on the website address, because I know people want to talk to you.
Okay.
After this show, because it is of major importance that, they have a follow-up, because some folks are actually really interested because they're thinking there's no hope. And you're saying there is, well, we know that. I told her, you might have thrown my pen at me, dude.
Yeah.
There is a hope, and I'm going to ask him to put it up on the screen, but I want to read it out for you that basically is called info@sudden-challenge, right? No, change, LLC.com. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. That's info@sudden-change-llc.com. So I'm going to ask her to put that up on the screen so you guys can see it. I only got about 3-4 minutes, about 2 minutes. Mr. Maybe, give me a quick end of segment comment to my viewers to let them know that they can reach you at where.
Sure. Well, we could be reached. There are 3 of us there in the Office of Reentry, 3 coordinators, but we could be reached by dialing my telephone number, area code 513-946-4940. That number will get you into the office. At 138 East Court Street, room 101, right directly behind the BMV. No appointments are necessary. You walk in. We're there from 9 to 4 every day, Monday through Fridays.
Hamilton County Office of Reentry?
Hamilton County Office of Reentry.
All right, Hamilton County, Mr. Saran Brooks. Let's take us home, man. Let's start something. You can look at the camera and tell everybody what you would like to say to him, because we certainly do thank you for coming on the program.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, brother. We've got about a minute.
I just want to say, to anybody out there, especially the felons, anybody that's going through hard times and struggles, just know that, Christ, he loves you, and you are forgiven of your sins. All you have to do is just believe and trust in him, and he will make a way.
And let the church say amen. Amen. Well, you guys, you've heard it. As always, we always have interesting topics on Let's Talk. I want to thank you for joining us today, because without you, this program would not be a success. And one thing for sure, keep talking, keep writing down information. Don't forget about the Soul Redeemers, November the 13th as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I look forward to talking to you on the next program. And until then, keep on talking. Thank you, man.
The things that mean so much.